Tonight, we're finally making progress. Here with reaction, the attorney that is representing the FBI informant, Victoria Tunsing, as well as the Hill's John Solomon, Circa News' Sarah Carter. I'm beginning to think you guys are the Woodward and Bernstein of our time. Thank you both for being here. I know it's taken a lot of courage on your part, and you've taken a lot of personal hits, but now the evidence is overwhelming. Victoria, let's start with what we were asking for last night is now come out. That, in fact, the NDA, the non-disclosure...
Here it is. There's the
I love
letter.
when my guests come with props. That's great. Tell us what you got there.
Well, I have the letter that you read, the press release that you tracked. Actually, the wording is the same in my letter. It's just to me and telling me to get in contact with the FBI about the process.
Okay, so the process would be that the NDA will be lifted, and the informant, and we were told he knew in 2009 and 2010, before the Uranium One deal was done, that he had overwhelming evidence, that he had emails, that he had documents, that he has tapes that would show the bribery, the racketeering, the corruption, the money laundering and extortion. Is that what we expect to hear?
Yes, and he can put a lot of meat on those bones that Sarah and John have built for us. He can give context, and he can tell about conversations the Russians had about what they were doing with various piles of money and the uranium.
Where did the money come from, Victoria?
Russia. I'm not going to get into that yet. Let's wait till he tells us.
Sarah, let's go to you, and John, you guys have been amazing on this. I really give you guys a lot of credit. Okay. Let's go to 2009. What did the FBI know, and why would people like Robert Mueller, the director of the FBI at the time, or Rod Rosenstein, who was ahead in the investigation, why would they have ignored this? And then also, the Department of Justice, Eric Holder, had to know what the FBI had. Why would he ever sign off on giving Putin 20% of our uranium when the evidence shows he was trying to corner the market here?
Well, I certainly think, Sean, that what's going to happen here is that this investigation, like Victoria said, there's going to be a lot more meat on these bones. And what we knew from now, looking at the documents, back in 2009, they were well aware of money laundering, kickbacks connected to the Russian uranium industry and connected to firms here inside, inside the United States. So one of the things that they're going to be looking for is those connections, and where did that money go, and who they were bribing, and how real a national security threat was this? I mean, was this just kind of covered up? Because remember, nobody back then actually knew. There was an ongoing investigation, so it was really up to the FBI. And the informant, the confidential informant, spent 4 years undercover, and it was like 4 years before any charges were brought against these players. And remember, they were only brought against these players, very minor, charges, and the exposure to these companies was not made public. So I think right now, the House Intelligence Committee, the House Oversight Committee, the Senate Judiciary Committee, and hopefully a special counsel will look into this and connect all of those dots.
I want to just stay on this, and I promise we have plenty of time tonight because you guys are here for a while. So for 4 years, this FBI informant, Victoria's client, worked undercover, and he discovered a network, if you will, evidence that showed not only did they use money laundering, kickbacks, bribery, extortion, but that they also had the evidence that this was a network that was being built and designed by Moscow and Vladimir Putin to corner uranium market in this country. He knew that. He knew that at the time. Is that what you're saying?
And to peddle influence, with the State Department and the Clintons.
All right, first we'll go to Sarah, then we'll go to John. Sarah?
Yes, I mean, one of the biggest issues was that Vladimir Putin wanted to penetrate the U.S. uranium market as well as our energy market. This was a huge deal for him. He wanted to move this through. It was a main point in all of the things that he did. And I think that the informant, who was privy to these conversations, who had recordings, who had emails, is able to show that.
Does he still have them?
I'm going to leave that to Victoria to answer.
Victoria?
We'll let you know. We'll let you know what he has.
You've been a friend for years. You're so tough. It drives me crazy, but I love you for it. And I'd hire you in 20 seconds because you're so good. All right, John Solomon, let's go to this issue. This is a huge... We have all... You go back, it's 2 years since we learned about Uranium One. Peter Schweitzer will join us later. You guys have been digging and investigating now for a long time. Bit by bit, you're putting this together. Is this a network? Was Vladimir Putin, through agents, trying to corner the market in uranium, and our FBI knew about it, and Eric Holder, the head of the Attorney General, the head of the Department of Justice, actually signed off on this?
Well, listen, one of the things, today I ordered up the transcript for the sentencing hearing, and there's an amazing gap from a few months before these guys pled out, where the government said, we think this leads all the way to Russia, that the benefactors are in Russia, and that the people who controlled the conspiracy were in Russia. And then when they got to the sentencing hearing, they kind of minimized it, saying, we really don't know where the money went. And the judge was kind of incredulous, saying, how could you not know where the money's going? But one of the more important things that they did say at the sentencing was, there's no doubt that this compromised America's nuclear security. There was no doubt that it was a corrupt scheme that could have put uranium in danger.
All right, so John, let me ask you.
Yeah.
So Bill Clinton gets twice his normal speaking fee. He's in Moscow. At the time, he's asking his own wife's State Department to give permission for him to meet with nuclear operatives in Russia, people involved in this sort of thing. He then got to meet with Putin. He's being paid by a bank that has a financial interest in Uranium One. Meeting with Putin, wanting to talk to the nuclear officials in Russia, talks to Putin, the deal gets done, but our government knew about the bribery, money laundering, all this other corruption. They knew about it the whole time. How could you possibly sign that deal and give America's uranium away and sell our country's security out?
There's no doubt that the color of money that was raining down during this period was noticeably red. It was coming from Moscow. I've been working on a project just putting all the different monies that came in from Russia. It's over $40 million over a 2-3 year period going to people around the Clintons. That can't be an accident.
And
$40
Sean,
million
don't forget,
before they signed off on Uranium One.
I'm sorry, Sean?
$40 million before they signed off on Uranium One?
Well, during the time when Uranium One was being reviewed, after it was approved, and while these new nuclear commercial contracts that were coming in from the utilities were also getting a nod from the Obama administration. It's a 2-3 year window, but it's a lot of money. And tomorrow or the next couple of days, we'll be able to come on and lay out that money path for you.
But Sean, don't forget that my client was being told by the FBI that President Obama was being briefed on this matter.
Wouldn't we know from his presidential daily briefing?
We would. Can we get those, John and Sarah?
Yeah, I think that maybe
I'm way on time. You're all staying, so don't go anywhere.